Welcome to BeFM Drama, where we're bringing you a 10-part adaptation of A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm your host, Joshua Cornwell, joining you in this drama as the voice of Sherlock Holmes' steadfast companion and narrator, Dr. John Watson. In this episode, the famed detective and his friend are making their way back by cab from an empty house in the London suburbs, where the body of a wealthy American has been found. A body with no injuries in a room soaked with blood, where RACHE, the German for revenge, has been scrawled in blood on the wall, and where a woman's wedding ring has been discovered, hidden under the contorted body of Enoch J. Drebber of Cleveland, USA. Holmes has made his inspection of the scene and questioned the officer who discovered the body. He's drawn his own conclusions about the case, but Watson is burning with confusion.
There's nothing like first-hand evidence. My mind is entirely made up on this case, but we may as well learn what's left to be learned.
The details you profess to know amaze me. How could you have known the murderer and his victim arrived together, in the same cab?
That was the very first thing I noticed. A cab made 2 ruts in the mud with its wheels. Up until last night, there'd been no rain for a week. Any wheels making such a deep impression must have been on the road last night for some time. I could see the prints of the horse, too, with its new shoe.
And the details about the murderer? His height? His age?
A man's height can be told from the length of his stride. It's a simple calculation, no use boring you with the details. I had the man's stride on the mud outside the house and the dust within. I had a way to confirm my calculation inside. When a man writes on the wall, his instincts lead him to write at the level of his own eyes. That RACHE on the wall was over 6 feet above the ground. Child's play.
And his age?
If a man can step 4.5 feet without effort, he can't exactly be gray-haired. There was a large puddle on the garden path. Our victim went around it. The murderer stepped over. The prints of his square-toed boots are clear. There's no mystery about it at all. Is there anything else that puzzles you?
His long fingernails and the Trichinopoly cigar. I don't see how you could possibly have deduced that.
The writing on the wall was done with a man's forefinger dipped in blood. The wall behind it was scratched in doing so. There'd be no scratches if the man's nail had been trimmed. As for the cigar, I spotted some scattered ash on the floor. It was dark and flaky. Such ash is only made by Trichinopoly. I have made a special study of ashes. In fact, I flatter myself that I can distinguish at one look the ash of any known brand of cigar or tobacco.
And his red face?
That was more daring of me, though the unfortunate Constable Rance proved me right.
The more I think, the more mysterious it becomes. How did these men come into this empty house? What became of the man who drove their cab? How could one compel the other to take poison? Where did all the blood come from? What was the point of it if robbery had no part? What of the woman's ring, and why, by God, should the killer write that German RACHE before leaving? How could anyone connect all of these facts?
You sum up the difficulty well. There is much still unknown, though my mind is made up on the basic facts. As for poor Inspector Lestrade's discovery of RACHE, that was merely a misdirection to put the police on the wrong track. It is not written by a German. The A was in the German style, but a real German always writes by hand in our Latin letters. Now, I'm not going to tell you more, Doctor. If I show too much, I fear you'll see me as a very ordinary individual after all.
I shall never do that. You have brought detection to as near of an exact science as it ever will be.
Oh, you flatter me. Driver, stop here. I must send a telegraph and attend to some other business. I will join you later in Baker Street.
Very well.
One last thing. The killer and his victim arrived in the same cab, and they walked down the garden path together in the most friendly way, arm in arm. Once they got inside, our victim stood still as the killer paced back and forth, working himself into a fury. I could read all that in the dust. Then the tragedy occurred. Now, I've told you all I know. The rest is conjecture. We have a good working basis to start, but must move quickly. Farewell now. I'll join you later.
Holmes was very late in returning. Dinner was on the table before he appeared.
I've just had a response to my American telegram, confirming some of my views in the case. But what's the matter? You're looking not quite yourself. This Brixton Road affair has upset you.
To tell the truth, it has. I ought to be hardened after my Afghan experience. I saw my own comrades hacked to pieces at Maiwan without losing my nerve. But this...
I can understand. There are elements to this crime that horrify the imagination. Have you read the evening paper?
No.
It gives an accurate account of the case, but doesn't mention the woman's ring. That's good for us.
Why?
Look at this advertisement. I had one sent to every paper immediately after we parted this morning.
Found in the Brixton Road between White Hart Tavern and Holland Grove this morning. A plain gold wedding ring. Applied to Dr. Watson, 221B, Baker Street, between 8 and 9 this evening.
Excuse me for using your name. If I use my own, some dunderhead might recognize it.
Oh, that's all right. But I have no ring.
Oh, yes you have. I've had a cheap facsimile made of the original. Here it is.
Why, this is an exact copy. But who do you expect to answer your advertisement?
Why, a red-faced tall gentleman in the brown overcoat. Or one of his accomplices.
Would he not consider it too dangerous?
Perhaps, but if my view of the case is correct, this man would risk everything rather than lose the ring. I believe he dropped it while standing over Drebber's body and did not realize until he'd left the house. He hurried back the moment he noticed, but found the police already there. He pretended to be drunk in order to escape their suspicions. Now, put yourself in his boots. It must have occurred to him he could have lost the ring in the street, and what would he do then? He would look in the evening paper for an advertisement like ours. He'd be overjoyed to see it. Why should he fear a trap? There would be no reason in his mind why the discovery of the ring in the street should be connected with the murder. He will come. You'll see him within the hour.
And what then?
Oh, you can leave me to deal with him. Do you have a gun?
My old service revolver and a few cartridges.
You'd better load it. He's a desperate man. Even if we take him by surprise, we may have a fight.
I went to my bedroom and followed his advice. When I returned with the pistol, Holmes was engaged in his favorite hobby, scraping high-pitched chords upon his violin. It's 8 o'clock now.
Yes, he'll probably be here in a few minutes. Open the door slightly. That will do. Thank you.
As he spoke, there was a sharp ring at the front bell. Sherlock Holmes rose softly and moved his chair in the direction of the door. We heard the servant pass along the hall and the sharp click of the latch as she opened it. Then we heard steps on the stair, irregular and unsteady, before a feeble tap came on the door. It opened, revealing not a tall and hardened murderer, but a shriveled and frail old woman.
Does Mr. Watson live here?
Come in.
I saw your advertisement, gentlemen. A gold wedding ring in the Brixton Road. It belongs to my girl, Sally.
Is this her ring?
The Lord be thanked. Sally will be glad tonight that's her ring.
And what is your address?
13 Duncan Street, Houndsditch.
The Brixton Road does not lie near Houndsditch.
Well, the gentleman asked for my address. Sally lives in Peckham.
And your name is?
My name is Sawyer.
I interrupted in response to a hand sign from my companion. Here is your ring, Mrs. Sawyer. I am glad to be able to restore it to the rightful owner. With many mumbled thanks, the old crone pocketed the ring and shuffled off down the stairs. The moment she left, Holmes sprang to his feet, grabbed his coat, and ran for the stairs, calling back to me.
I'll follow her. She will lead me to him. Wait up for me.
It was nearly midnight when Holmes returned, amusement and embarrassment mixed on his face.
I can't let Lestrade or Gregson know a word of this. I'd never hear the end of it. That crone hired a cab to Houndsditch the moment she got into the street. I managed to catch up and conceal myself behind the driver, but when we arrived, the woman had vanished. You should have seen the way her driver swore. I questioned the owner of the house, and he'd never heard of anyone named Sawyer.
You mean to say that that feeble old woman was able to get out of a moving cab without you or the driver noticing?
We were the old women to be taken in. That was no woman, but a young man, and an active one. Not to mention an incomparable actor. That get-up was superb. He must have seen that he was being followed. Well, at least this proves our killer has some friends in the city. Ah, well, you look done in. Get some rest and we will carry on this business in the morning.
I left him there in front of the smoldering fire, smoking his pipe. Long into the hours of the night, I heard the melancholy wailings of his violin as he pondered the strange and bloody problem he'd set it upon himself to unravel. With that, we've come to the end of Part 3 of our adaptation of A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Join us again tomorrow on BeFM Drama as a new day in the investigation dawns and the net tightens around the killer, as a shocking development sets to deepen an already bizarre and brutal mystery.